You know who I can do without? I can do without the people in the video store.
Which ones?
All of them.
This is Massive Late Fee with Mike and Mark.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Massive Late Fee. My name is Mark. With me, as always, is my co-host Mike. How you doing, Mike?
Too bad, Mark. How about yourself?
Good. We've had a good week here at Massive Late Fee. I'm happy to report that despite not being on the medication, Peaches the cat is continuing to do fairly well. So we will we're on a touch and see a go thing here. We'll see what happens, but I'm pretty hopeful because she seems pretty healthy. So that's good.
Happy to hear that.
Yeah, we've got my daughter here, Ava, because we haven't seen her in a while because of the quarantine. So we got to have her this week. We get her for a whole week, which is nice. So that's been cool too. And it's my anniversary with my wife tomorrow.
Happy anniversary. What? How many years?
It's 7 years now.
I should have known that because my wife was pregnant with my youngest at that wedding, and she had her shortly after. So
Yep.
That's a dumb question.
Yep. Oh, yeah. So good times all around. How have you been, Mike? How's the week treated you?
Not too bad. Same old for the most part. We went fishing today. That was kind of fun. One of my daughters caught one fish, but they seemed satisfied regardless of the low totals.
Oh, that's cool. You've got the HBO, right? So you've got HBO Max now?
I guess I just haven't watched it since I accidentally renewed it.
So we did the free trial. They haven't actually charged us for it yet because I guess our free trial is still going on. But we got the free trial, and the day that it switched over, I think it was Wednesday or whatever. It still says HBO now, but when you click on it, it goes to HBO Max. It updated in my phone and on the tablet, but on the TV, because we have a smart TV, it just it still says it, but it goes right to HBO Max. It's pretty cool. It's they've got a lot of stuff in there. Obviously a ton of movies. Like over 600 back catalogs of a ton of movies, and they've got all the Cartoon Network stuff on there. So like my wife and I are both friends of Aqua Teen Hunger Force, so they have all the Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Friends with Aqua Teen Hunger Force? Is that what you said?
Well, I said we're fans. Did I say we're friends?
It sounded like friends, but you kind of went garbled for a second there. So I mentioned.
We're friends with Meatwad, and we're not ashamed of that. But yeah, we so we've been watching some stuff. For people that are fans of the movie, or the TV show Friends, they have all the Friends episodes. They have The Big Bang Theory, and it's a bunch of stuff. I would say I don't know if it's going to be worth it in the long run or not, but I like having it right now. We'll see. We'll see we'll give it a couple months and see if it's worth it. My daughter really likes a show called Steven Universe that's on Cartoon Network, I guess, and they have all those.
I hate that show so much.
They have all those episodes, so she was really happy about that. I've never really watched it. What's offensive about it?
Well, there's a lot of racial slurs on it. I just tell you all these horrible things are on this, so you're like, oh, she loves to watch it. I've never seen it myself. Oh,
She did call me slant eyes.
Jeez.
No, I'm just joking.
She yelled it. But no, it's just very slow moving and boring, and it just annoys me. That's kind of how I feel about it.
They love that, and they love Gravity Falls.
I was just say Gravity Falls is a kids show that I really like a lot.
Yeah, I think Gravity Falls is pretty smart. It's a pretty smart show, actually. But yeah,
It's a lot of fun. It doesn't it doesn't talk down to children, which I hate for most of those kids shows.
Mm-hmm.
Blue's Clues was always the worst.
Yes.
Or Dora.
Yeah, was that the one with Blue's Clues? Was the one with soft talking Steve or whatever his name was?
Like Steve, I can't remember. I don't know if I don't think they call him soft talking Steve. That sounds like a Dick Tracy character.
Hey, Mumbles, where's your friend soft talking Steve?
You got it. They were just really a bunch of assholes on Dick Tracy. I mean, he calls the guy prune face.
Yeah.
Hey, prude face. Fuck you. That was an industrial.
Right, my name's Terry.
He's trying to speak up. He calls him Mumbles. I get you are a dick.
Oh wow, Dick Tracy. You know I'm pretty sure Warren Beatty is still insisting they're going to do a sequel to that movie. They've been trying to do a sequel to that movie since like 1991. I have no idea, but he still owns it, and he won't give up the rights to the intellectual property. I don't know why he fucking loves Dick Tracy so much.
I mean, it must have been like when he was a kid or something, I guess.
I guess, yeah. That's how I'm gonna be when I get big and famous. That's what I'm gonna be like with Calvin and Hobbes.
I don't think Bill Watterson would ever sell the rights to it.
Probably not. No. But anyway. Have you seen?
I have Calvin pissing on something. On a bumper sticker somewhere.
Have you seen Scott? I think it's Scott. Isn't his name Scott Adams? Like guy that did Dilbert.
Oh yeah. What about him now?
He's on Twitter a lot talking about what a genius Donald Trump is. How he's playing 4D chess while everyone else is playing checkers or whatever. So, if you wanted to know if the creator of Dilbert was a moron, then you got your answer now.
Who reads Dilbert? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. Didn't they make a TV show of that? They made a TV show, right? When back when they were
Dilbert.
Right. The Simpsons was popular, and it was during a time period when they were like, okay, any animated property that we can get our hands on, so we've got to recreate the magic of The Simpsons. And of course, they never did.
I would argue Futurama did a better job.
Yeah, well, Futurama I think is a superior show. We've talked about that before. But I mean, the early Simpsons. Don't get me wrong. There was a, like you always say, there was a sweet spot. There's a sweet spot of The Simpsons, which is excellent. But I do enjoy Futurama more. I think it's a bit of a smarter show. I think they really set things up very well in Futurama.
Was that after they came back to Comedy Central, they're still pretty good. I haven't seen a lot. Yeah,
I agree. But I guess we'll roll right into the IMDb game, and then we'll get to talking about all the stuff that we want to talk about. HBO Max is probably the biggest story. I don't think there's any story, whether it's entertainment or politics or anything that's bigger than HBO Max right now. And certainly nothing that I can think of.
Nothing bigger than HBO Max going on right now.
Nope, nothing that I can think of that's overshadowed it in any way.
2020.
Yep. So anyway, so here's what'd you say?
You're like, so anyway, Remon.
Yeah. Here's your first clue, Mike. I think I'm gonna go with the one in drug, or no, I'm not going to do the one in drugs, alcohol, and smoking. There's only one in drugs, alcohol, and smoking. But I think I'll go with violence and gore. Two men play a Mortal Kombat video game. We see punches land and two fatalities in which the characters are dismembered and killed.
This is very familiar. Terminator 2?
No. Let's see. How about... Okay, I'm going to do profanity. 103 uses of fuck? 19 uses of the N-word?
We know we're right here.
41 uses of shit.
It's a Tarantino movie?
Did you want me to answer that question?
I cannot think what that would be. Let's see. I will say Death Proof.
No. Okay, under sex and nudity, naked female boobies in several scenes. That's exactly how whoever decided to write this wrote it. Naked female boobies in several scenes.
Point Break.
No. Let's see. At a party, a man puts a dildo to his face pretending it's a phone.
Is this like Deuce Bigelow 2 or something?
No. Let's see. No actual sex scenes. Which I guess is true. Yeah, I guess that, I mean, not on screen. This one is I think this one should be a decent hint. Sexual yeah, go ahead.
You know, I just realized that I falsely remembered that Deuce Bigelow 2 said the N-word 19 times. So that's clearly not it.
Sexual humor, as the title of the film should imply. However, nearly all of the sexuality is hilarious.
Don't be a menace to South Central.
No. Let's see. A man watches Dawn of the Dead on a large screen TV, and we see one zombie character biting the neck of a man. Blood spurts. The man watching screams in horror. Two men play a video game where one character cuts the other in half and blood sprays. In another round, one character cuts another character's head off. So that gives you a little bit of a time, you know, because they're watching Dawn of the Dead.
Sure. Is this that movie with where Bill Murphy's the zombie guy, like Zombie Land or something like that?
No. A woman yells at a man on the telephone and tells him to kill himself. A man yells at a woman. A man yells at his boss and threatens to burn a store down.
The Island of Dr. Moreau.
No. A woman drives a car while... No, this isn't the behind the scenes of a woman of the Island of Dr. Moreau. A woman drives a car while very drunk.
Oh, my.
She swerves through traffic. She sideswipes many cars.
I figured out what this is. I'm pretty sure this is a 40-year-old virgin.
That is correct.
I remember the killing part.
I had a feeling that the 19 uses of the N-word would throw you off a little bit. I know which two characters say it. But it's so crazy. Well, it's the and I apologize to this actor because he's very funny. In the other stuff I've seen him, but I can't remember his name. But the black guy that works with them at the store, and then the Indian guy
I didn't notice that one guy was black or Indian.
Because you're colorblind.
Yep.
And then the Indian dude in the store says it a bunch of times too.
Forgot about that. And then the guy who was his friend killed his daughter in real life.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, like honor killing kind of thing. I think.
Oh my god, that's terrible.
Like I think she went to Data Boy and he strangled her to death, as one does.
Wow, I had no idea that Paul Rudd killed his daughter. I guess don't try to date Paul Rudd's daughter.
He killed her like the Mac and Me style killing. he keeps reacting to crime on Conan, and everyone just thinks it's like a joke.
Oh my god. Yeah, I can't remember that guy's name, but I remember the I remember that story that you're talking about. No, what was his name? I'm gonna get. Oh, so by the way, Romani Malco, that's his friend, Jay, and he's very funny.
Well, he's not in a lot more stuff. He's very good in the show Weeds as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think I forgot to mention that I watched The Love Guru a few weeks ago, or maybe I did mention it.
We did a dumpster diving on it.
Really? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot we made it do it. But I mean, he's really funny in that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he is. He's a very funny guy.
seen him in a while, and I don't know why. Because he's like, I mean, why wouldn't you want a funny guy, and more stuff?
Yeah, agreed. But yeah, I like him a lot. I didn't know Stormy Daniels was in this movie. She plays the porn star.
I think I knew that because what's his name, Seth Rogen, had known her. Like after it came up, and they said that he had talked to her, knew her from the 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Mm-hmm.
Porn star who is? I don't remember that role in the movie.
I think it's just like they watch a porn movie and she happens to be in it.
Oh, really? Because I think they actually had known each other through it for some reason. But yeah, I don't know. Are you ready for my entry into the IMDb Parents Guide game?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out which one killed his daughter because I found Jerry Bedknob and broomsticks. That's the that's
Jerry Bedknob and broomsticks.
That's the one guy. He's by the way, he's Bengali. I don't want to offend the Bengalis out there, but no, which
listeners we have a Bengali.
Which one was it though? Who killed his
dark hair? I believe you remember his the other foreign gentleman with the dark hair. I think he's the one who killed it. If you just looked up,
yeah, I know who you're talking about now. I can see his face now. He's younger looking.
Pretty sure that's who it was.
Yeah. 1 second. Yeah, start to read my thing. I'm going to look this up.
A boy and girl kiss passionately, then he fondles her bare breast while kissing her stomach. I don't remember that part in this movie at all.
Is it what the hell's that called? Superbad?
No.
Okay.
We see a ceramic figurine of a topless woman used as a bong to smoke marijuana.
Oh my god, that sounds so familiar.
I believe it was together in the theater.
Oh, holy shit. Damn it. It's not Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, but that'll be my guess.
No, it's not.
Because I need to think a little bit more.
Oh man, this sounds like I think Matt might have put this entry on here. When one of the characters is afraid and tries to search his house, he pushes his dog into the hallway before him. During the scene, you can clearly see the dog has an erection, and it is protruding from its sheath.
Protruding from its sheath.
They call that the Red Rocket, I believe.
When someone's trying to search his house, is that what you said?
Yeah, he's afraid and trying to search his house. He pushes his own dog into the hallway, and the dog's just sporting a giant erection. Apparently.
I'm gonna say Super Troopers.
No.
All right.
Some of the scenes are frightening. Some are comical. Most are gory.
Most are gory.
Give me another one. That's not a very good clue. A man sticks a knitting needle through a man's ears. We see it sticking out of both sides of his head, and shoots another in the face with a taser that electrocutes him and burns his face.
Idle Hands?
Hands, very good.
Oh, nice!
I put that together. I wasn't sure though.
Yeah, that's I like when you did the knitting needle one that finally got it for me. But yeah, that and then everything fell into place from there. I do think we saw that in the theater together. I like that. I like that movie.
With Jessica Alba in it, and that was a very nice experience.
Oh, for sure.
Do you remember the name of the band at the end of the movie?
It's The Offspring, right? Shelly Malley. That's the name of the guy that murdered his daughter.
Okay.
Let's see.
The Offspring.
Yeah. Speaking of his offspring. Oh God. Oh wait.
Smooth transition there.
Maybe he didn't. Let's see. He was convicted of attempted premeditated murder and assault with a deadly weapon on a former girlfriend, and served 8 years of a 14-year to life term at Chuckawalla, which I think is the name of a Offspring album. Valley State Prison in Southern California.
Oh, see, I thought one of them tried or did kill his daughter. I don't know.
See, apparently he attacked let's see, he stabbed his ex-girlfriend Kendra Beebe 25 times. Wow.
Excessive.
He was arrested the next day as he got off a train in
Yeah,
Oceanside.
wait,
Yeah, that's fucked up. But apparently he was paroled, so
That's good.
he's out on the street again.
Ready for the 50-year-old only fuck one chick. Man, he's 50 years old. He's only fucked his wife.
Right. The 50-year-old only had sex with Catherine Keener.
Right? With that voice. Okay.
Oh God. But I chose the 40-year-old virgin today because we watched something with Steve Carell in it. Unfortunately, it wasn't the 40-year-old virgin.
Yeah, I do like that movie a lot.
It was the new Netflix television series, Space Force. Mike, what'd you think of? Did you watch just the first episode? Did you watch a few of them?
I actually watched quite a few. I actually like the show.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, so we finally disagree on something. Now here's the thing. This is what I'll say about the show. The positives about the show. Well, the positive about the show. I like Steve Carell, and I like John
Malkovich.
Yeah, John Malkovich. And they have really good chemistry together, and I think they work well together, and they're both very good actors. And
Steve Carell is a surprisingly good actor. I mean, I know he's good at stuff that I haven't seen. Like, it's a movie about the DuPont murder. Like, it's called
Foxcatcher.
Or something like that.
Foxcatcher.
I really want to see that, but yeah, I haven't.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet either, but he's supposedly very good in that. I've heard that from a number of people. I hear he's decent in The Big Short. You said you've seen that one, right?
I like him in that.
But yeah, he's a very good actor. Obviously, Malkovich is a very good actor, and I care about their characters. The problem I have with the show is it's not funny. Like, I don't.
That's where I disagree.
Really, you think it's funny? I didn't find much of it funny.
See, first of all, the whole tone of the show is very odd.
It is.
Because it very seamlessly blends like madcap comedy and like serious drama and like a very dry, almost like British like sense of like wry, witticisms and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
A lot of the show's humor, for me at least, like there's like sly comments that are often made at the end of things that you don't catch at first.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like, oh my, like especially the episodes after the first one. The first one is a lot of setting up, but it does it pretty succinctly. I think they take the basically he thinks he's going to be his fourth star. He's in the Air Force. He thinks he's taking over as the head of the Air Force.
Right.
But he's the newly minted Space Force. This joke was a lot funnier 2 years ago. I might add, which would probably have helped.
Right.
And also the timing, I assume it was deliberately done to coincide with the launch of SpaceX.
I have to imagine, yeah.
Because I think it's like 2 years older or something like that, which obviously is never a good sign. I mean, if you hear something's been delayed 2 years, it's usually like fucking Justice League something or other.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the first episode. It sets him up. He's the head of this new Space Force. He has like a nice rivalry with his other branches of the military, particularly the Air Force guy. I can't remember the guy who plays. I don't know. I can't remember. I don't know the name of the guy who plays him.
Kick Grabison.
Okay, because I mean the actor who plays him. Yeah, because the other ones are all well. I mean, Jane Lynch is the head of the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
Rick Bader is the head of the Army, I believe, and Patrick, what's his name?
Warburton.
Yeah, he's the head of the Marines. And there's a guy who's the head of the Coast Guard. There's an ongoing joke. He just like shows up like, get out of here. And he's like, I have no like patience for him.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
I mean, the cast is amazing. Everybody in this is very good.
Well, that's the thing is like it's Steve Carell, John Malkovich. I am a huge fan of Ben Schwartz. I mentioned Jake and Amir yesterday, or not yesterday, but the last episode, and that's the first.
Yeah, he's very funny in here too.
That's the first place I saw him in, but I think he's on Parks and Rec or something, right? Like people know him from that.
I don't know. I've only seen some of Parks and Rec. It was okay, but it wasn't. I didn't keep up with it.
There's a lot of and Diana Silvers is in here as Aaron Naird. Steve Carell's daughter.
Lisa Kudrow plays his wife.
Yep.
After the very, did you just watch one episode, Mark, or did you watch a few?
I watched the first, I think 3 or 4 is what I got through so far.
About that. Did you see the part where they visit Lisa Kudrow in prison?
Yes.
She is. Oh my god, that was the funniest scene. Like her reactions are so just nonchalant. It's just like, oh my god. As far as I know, they haven't mentioned why she's in prison yet.
No, they haven't. And that's a funny thing too. That's one thing I did appreciate about that. They didn't just like expedition roll out. When they talk about it, it's like, they don't say, because they all know. They all know what happened.
That's a very good point in the show. There isn't much at all of that. I mean, there's not like, well, hold on, you mean you were in the Army and now you're in the Air Force? I mean, they kind of show that at the beginning, but there's a lot of references to the president and later the first lady, but they don't explicitly mention. But it's obviously Donald Trump who they're referring to.
Yeah, and
they don't go too hard at that, which I appreciate, because it's very easy, especially with like the liberal media, as you know.
Oh yes.
And I'm not kidding, but I mean it is mostly Hollywood people tend to slant towards a more liberal / democratic type perspective. But I mean they mention it, and yeah, it's like, but you could have used another president, and it would have been the same joke,
Yeah, pretty much. But it's also it's all. I also kind of appreciate that they have, so like I think it's in the first episode or maybe the second episode, he meets with Senator like Schlemer or something like that.
Yeah, Schlumer. So it's obviously Chuck Schumer, and there's obviously like Nancy Pelosi and
the angry young congresswoman is what they call her.
Yeah.
And it's Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez. So I think it's kind of I think that's there's a little bit of political humor in there, but like you said, it doesn't go overboard.
It's very generic too.
Yeah.
I mean, they're obviously characters. There's no one who's gonna think that you're really trying to insult any of these figures.
Noah Emmerich is the head of the Air Force. Kit Grabison.
I don't know what else he might have been in or anything like that, but
he was Truman's friend in the Truman Show.
I've never seen the Truman Show.
Oh, I like that movie.
I mean, I've seen like tiny snippets of it. He's like in a boat or something, but I've never really seen much, if all, any of that. I mean, I've missed a lot of Jim Carrey movies. My wife tells me The Majestic is very good, but I haven't seen that one.
One big surprise for me, because I didn't read a lot about this before I watched it, but one surprise to me is the great Fred Willard's in it.
And he's hilarious in this, by the way.
He is very, like, those are the parts that I really laughed out loud at. But yeah.
I mean, again, I think we need to talk. I mean, Steve, I know you said you didn't find this especially funny. You said I can appreciate and understand that.
Mm-hmm.
I consider this almost more like a drama with like moments of like comedy, peppered in.
Well, that's the thing. I liked it as a drama. But I didn't find it particularly. There were some scenes, especially some scenes with Ben Schwartz, that I thought were funny. I thought the kind of beginning when we first meet John Malkovich's character, Dr. Mallory, I thought that was kind of funny. How Carell walks in and he's like, we chose you for this because we thought you were open to. We're gonna have to let you go, and he's like, "What are you talking about? I'm the one that runs this."
Right. Yeah, there's a lot. It's a lot of fun. See, I'm a little. I find it a little unbelievable that he's such. Maybe not. I mean, he is a military professional. He mentioned he was in Bosnia and he was chased for 10 days by like the Serbian army at one point.
Yep.
But I feel that they would pick somebody who was a little more knowledgeable on the science aspects. But that really wouldn't work as a show, I suppose. And in real life, unfortunately, that's not the case currently, at least.
Right.
There's a book by Michael Lewis. It's called. I cannot remember the name of it. It's like The Fourth Something, and it's like the most damning indictment of the Trump administration ever, which is they don't know what they're doing and they weren't prepared. It's a terrifying book if you read it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
He does a very good job of playing like a gruff, really idealistic, but no nonsense. He obviously wants to do the best thing. Military, very straight-laced, straight character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
John Malkovich. I'm sorry.
No, good.
Well, and as only has really been hinted before, like in Being John Malkovich, he is an amazing comedic actor. He's hilarious in this. Like his character is funny. He's likable. He's smarmy. He's a great fun character. I really enjoy his performance. I mean, it's weird how it's like the comedy and drama. I mean, I wonder if more dramatic actors. Well, I guess what's his name? The guy who's in Step Brothers, John.
Um,
He's you know who I'm talking about, the guy with the
Yeah.
curly hair. But he was a dramatic actor first. I think he was
Yeah.
mostly in like a lot of Thomas Paul Anderson movies. He was in Magnolia, at least. He's in Boogie Nights.
Yep.
What the fuck is his name? I like him a lot. I just can't remember his name. But yeah,
Yeah,
so
Will
there is a
Ferrell
guy
and
kinda-
John C. Riley.
John C. Reilly. There you go. Yeah, even his name is like more of like a serious actor name.
Right.
Starring in Goofy But Part 4, John C. Reilly. That's his name, right?
There is a line. Did you get to the episode where they do the Space Wars or whatever it is, where they do
Well, the first episode. When they do the paintball kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's what I just started on. That's the most recent one I'm on.
There's a I won't. This doesn't really spoil anything, but there's a line that Malkovich has in that episode that I think is very funny, like very understatedly funny. They're like they meet each other. This is before the war games start and everything, and they're like kind of trash talking with each other. And that Kit Grabison guy, he says, like as they're leaving, he looks at Malkovich and he goes, "I like your suit," and Malkovich goes, This isn't a suit. This is an ensemble. Everything chosen, purposely or something like that. But he says it really softly, and it's like a throwaway line. It's very funny.
Yeah, he's very good. As you mentioned, Ben Schwartz is hilarious. He's like the conniving, like media manipulation, in charge of the media for Space Force. I like his daughter. She's pretty good. And the woman who's his pilot / driver captain, I can't remember her name.
Angela Ali.
Good.
That's her character's name. Yeah.
Yeah, Fred Willard is. I'm actually kind of shocked that they have him. Like clearly he has like suffering from some kind of like dementia, but like it's played for laughs, which I didn't quite expect. In these modern politically correct era, but it's hilarious. I mean, Fred Willard, as always, is funny.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so like I said,
even when he's popping off in the back of a movie theater, he's got some smarmy one-liners.
Well, like I said, I'm starting to think that maybe I liked it a little bit more than I let on originally. Which sometimes happens when you and I talk about things. But
you're a fucking follower, that's why.
But I'll say this for it. I watched the first episode. I thought to myself, it's not that funny. But I kept watching it. And as I kept watching it, I care about these characters, especially Steve Carell and John Malkovich. Like, I really do care about them. Yeah, I like
that Malkovich is like, the very moral, idealistic, what you want people involved in the space program to be. But, there's obviously a conflict because this specifically was invented for the purpose of warfare extraplanetary.
Exactly, yeah.
And it shows in the first episode that it's needed because in the very first episode, it's a very elaborate race, and like they want to. There's a lot of pressure to launch this ship, and fortunately, unlike in real life, he feels he has to launch it or he won't be able to succeed or continue along within the Space Force. And they shoot it into space, and then at the end of the first episode, a Chinese spacecraft cuts off the arms of it, so it won't be able to move around.
Yeah. So
unfortunately, they're right.
Right. Yeah, because obviously the Chinese are already up there, and yeah, the second episode maybe is the one where it's so funny because I'm chuckling thinking about it now, but as I was watching, I'm like, it's not that funny.
I like how the first episode seamlessly goes right into the second episode too.
Mm-hmm.
And just one more comment real quick. I think I liken this more to like a comedy style, like a Mike Judge type comedy. It's not really in your face, but it's very clever. And there are a lot of like lines that I find very funny. It's more like, it's like if you're watching Silicon Valley or if you're watching like Extract or Idiocracy. The first time you watch it, it might not be hilarious. It's like a very slow burn, which I appreciate. And like you said, it works better as a drama, I think. Yeah.
And see, it's possible that I didn't because I was doing other things and stuff like that, as you do a lot of times when I was watching this, because I watched it mostly on my phone, actually. But it's possible that I didn't give the humor enough credit. But to the show's credit, like I said, the relationships and the characters were fleshed out enough, and I cared enough about them that I wanted to keep watching it, and I did keep watching it. So, that's that definitely says something for it. Yeah, he wants to launch because he feels like if they don't launch, because the Congress people are there, if he doesn't launch, they won't get funding.
Yeah, we forgot to mention that they cut forward 2 years after it's like 2 years into his career at the Space Force at this point.
Yeah, because it starts out with, when Trump basically says that he wants a Space Force, and then cuts 2 years to basically current time, kind of, or actually 2 years ago now.
Yeah, I guess that would be that. Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting too. It's also interesting that, like you said, that they're not, there's some jokes at President Trump's expense, which I think is fine. I've seen shows with jokes at George W. Bush's expense, Bill Clinton's expense, Barack Obama's expense. So I think that's fine as long as they don't.
I think they're reasonable to it. They're not like they're not like the more horrific parts, like, oh, he's killing people or, locking people in cages. It's more like his wife is really into fashion. And that's a very funny joke that I think that whole episode.
Yeah, that is pretty funny, actually. The stuff with the redesigning the uniforms and everything.
And I'd like to before I forget, his secretary.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name. He's in quite a few. Pardon me.
No, go ahead.
He's in the X-Files, actually.
Mm-hmm.
He's in a very funny episode where he said, pardon me, I have the hiccups, which is great.
Okay.
He says he's like a lost partner of Mulder and Scully. I really like him. I like him a lot.
Yeah. His name, let me think. I know his name. Dang it. Ugh. Give me a minute. I'll think of his name. But I do think that it's funny that like you said, I mean, most of the people that made this show, I don't know for a fact. I know Steve Carell's fairly liberal, but most of the people that made this show are probably more liberal. But I think it's funny that they basically say in the show, as you pointed out at the end of that first episode with the Chinese satellite, that like, well, Trump's right. It's needed because, if this satellite wasn't there, maybe they'd be taking out the internet. Maybe they'd be, there's definitely, it is, people laughed and everything when he said Space Force and all that stuff. But it is a possible legitimate concern that could be a future of warfare as our country and our world becomes more and more dependent on technology, and satellites that power that technology. That's a one place warfare definitely could, extend to. So
yeah, John Malkovich, they have a really funny hearing, like a congressional hearing, and Steve Carell's just saying outlandish things. He's trying to get John Malkovich's character to speak the whole time.
Yeah.
And they finally get in front of the brash young congresswoman from New York. I forget her name in here, but it's also like a Hispanic kind of name. It's obvious, replacement for her.
Right.
But yeah, he gives Steve Carell gives this really impassioned speech because she goes, why do you spend $10,000 to bring an orange up in outer space? Which cargo expenses wise, yeah, that's probably close to being accurate.
Yeah, for sure.
He gives a really amazing speech, really well written and touching, I think,
Mm-hmm.
about how important it is. I mean, because I'm a big believer in space, technology and exploring it. I mean, the SpaceX launches over the last week. Wow, I love that. I could watch those clips over and over of this shuttle, the boosters landing, simultaneously with the last one and stuff. But I mean, yeah, it's important, and yes, it's very expensive, which is what they're trying to cut the costs down with, commercial space travel.
Yeah, and that speech is when because at that point, before that point, it's kind of like General Naird. That's Steve Carell's character. Before that point, he's kind of a buffoon, almost like. I mean, he says one thing at the end of the first episode where he says, the one scientist had an umbrella with him and there were only 2 clouds in the sky, and he said that that kind of caution is not going to get us back to the moon, which is probably true. A lot of those people that formulated NASA were incredible risk takers. I mean, very smart, and the astronauts, and the scientists, incredible risk takers. So it makes
a lot of very brave, very intelligent people. That's what an astronaut's like, a very top level athlete who's also a genius. I mean,
yeah,
a lot there was one recently who was a graduate of Harvard Medical School and a Navy SEAL.
Mm-hmm.
That's the type of people you get who actually make it into the program.
Yeah, exactly. And so, he says that, and you kind of get a glimpse that there's more depth to his character than the silly facade. But that speech that he gives, that's when I first was like, oh, this is a character with depth, and like this is a fully fleshed human being. Because, like you said, I mean, he does give a fantastic impassioned speech about how, the people are up there risking their lives, and it's worth, like, you can't put a price on giving them a little bit of comfort, giving them a little bit of home while they're risking their lives for all of us to either to further the cause of exploration, or to safeguard space, or to put these satellites that will help us out, like Malkovich mentions climate satellites and things like that.
Yeah, both him and Steve Carell's speeches should be played for anybody who has doubts about the space program.
Absolutely.
Both, 100% correct. You can tell the people who wrote this are passionate about the program. So I mean, it does have good parts as well as bad parts about space and science and all that sort. I mean, it's very expensive, incredibly expensive, but it's probably worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so overall, I would say that I liked the show. I just guess I expected it to be. I don't know. I think it wasn't exactly what I expected it to be.
Well, I think just that, and also, I mean, the expectations for a Greg Daniels / Steve Carell show. I mean, people think it's going to be like the next Office,
right?
Like joke after joke, maybe a couple, smirks at the camera.
Yeah.
I think I'm just saying, like if you hear like Mike Judge's first thing was Beavis and Butthead.
Mm-hmm.
Then when you hear from the maker of Beavis and Butthead, Idiocracy, it's not the same thing at all. It's
no.
not the same kind of humor, but I mean, it's I don't know. I'm not a big fan of The Office. I don't think it's bad. It's just, I mean, it has its moments.
Mm.
I like this. I'm going to watch the rest of it. I don't know that it'll be renewed since it seems to have some kind of like critical dismay towards it. But if the rest is good, I hope they do another season.
Yeah, I'm gonna finish it as well. Like I said, I'm probably gonna rewatch a little bit of it too, because I want to look with a little more discerning eye at the humor. Because especially if it's, and because you and I have pretty similar tastes in humor, and if it's
like humor is almost like a bonus to the show. It's not really I mean, I like the show. I'm gonna keep watching it. Like I said, I could see how people wouldn't like it, especially if they did have different expectations. But I appreciate that. I like it.
Yeah, and like I said, I like the characters. I think it's well written in the story. The storyline and the plot, I think, is really well written. And
another actor I forgot that I really like who's in this is Jimmy Yang. He was in Silicon Valley as Jin Yang.
Yes.
He's one of the scientists. And the scientists have like hilarious lines because like Steve Carell is like always like, he puts a suggestion in the box at one point to fix the satellite, and it just says bomb.
Yes.
Like bomb. He's like, whoever put that. Okay, it was me. But like, and then when he talks to the other Air Force guy, he goes, "Did you try to use a bomb?" He's like, I don't know. It didn't work.
That was pretty funny, actually. He's like, "Did you blow something up?" And he goes, I suggested it. They shot it down."
Right.
Oh, but yeah, I'm gonna finish it too. Like I said, I like the characterization. I like the story of it. I'm definitely interested in it. And I want to know what happens. I want to know what his wife did, why she's in prison. I want to know what's gonna happen with his daughter.
I'm not a big fan of Friends, but Lisa Kudrow was hilarious.
Oh yeah, she's very funny. I didn't like her very much in Friends. I'm not the world's biggest fan of Friends either, just in general. But I didn't like, I never thought she was hilarious in that show. But in almost every other thing I've seen her in, I thought she was very funny.
Yeah, she's really good. Everybody in this is good. There's not one bad actor.
Yeah, absolutely. But have you? I watched one other thing that I want to talk about real quick. But have you watched anything else this week that you want to mention?
I may have mentioned this last week, but I've been watching a lot of Bosch.
Yeah, you actually mentioned it to me, but not on the show. I want to catch that too.
I mean, I really like the novels a lot. It is different. The character is a lot more outgoing. A lot of good actors. It has a lot of people from The Wire, which I like. His partner is Jimmy Hector, he played Marlo Sandfield on The Wire. The chief of the deputy chief was also on The Wire. I like the show a lot. I kind of slowed down in the second season. I'm not as into the plot as I was in the first one because I was more familiar with the storyline because it's an older book they're working. Because so far they're using different books. Like the first one was Echo Park and City of Bones. They kind of combined the two. This one is Trunk Music so far, which that's not one of my favorite books by him, but I'm going to keep watching it.
Yeah, I'm probably going to check out the first season. Maybe we can talk about the first season next week. But apparently I have every streaming service now. So
yeah, I think I do too, except for Disney Plus.
Yeah, I have that one too. The only one I guess I don't have is CBS All Access.
Oh yeah, I don't have that.
But I don't want that. So
you don't know. I kind of want to watch the Twilight Zone though.
Yeah, but the Twilight Zone, the original Twilight Zone is on Netflix, so I think I'll just watch that. I've heard it's not great, the new iteration of it.
I thought it was like a Jordan Peele. Maybe he just hosted though. Maybe he didn't have anything to do with the stories or anything.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I might try to check out the new Twilight Zone. I'm sure it'll be available somewhere at some point. I'm not paying for CBS All Access. Until
I'll give any Twilight Zone a shot, any iteration of it.
Yeah, even the Stacy Keach one from like the 90s.
A couple of those were okay actually.
Yeah,
if it's the one that had the Jason Alexander one was actually kind of good. There was one about like the end of the. I like the ones I saw.
Yeah. But the other thing that I saw this week that I wanted to mention is because I have HBO Max, I also have access to every episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm, which I love. So I've been watching the most recent season. I'm 2 episodes in to the most recent season.
I'm about 4 or 5. I haven't finished it yet, which I should before my thing runs out.
I love in the first episode. The first episode just begins. I think it's maybe the best way to bring the show back because as those of you who are fans of Curb Your Enthusiasm know, Larry David tends to take long breaks in between seasons as he comes up with ideas, which I'm completely fine with. I would rather wait for him to have a good idea and plot out because it's mostly improv, but he plots out the entire arc of the season, how it's going to go, and then most scenes are like a rough outline of, hey, this is what needs to happen in this scene. And not a lot of the individual dialogue is improvised. But I'd rather him take a long time to make a good one, which he always seems to do, than to rush a bad one. But I think it's like the best way to reestablish the show. He's walking down the street talking to Jeff. It's a one shot where the camera's kind of like panning, dollying back as they're walking down the street. Some people are taking selfies of themselves with a selfie stick, and he just grabs it, smashes it over his knee, and hands it back and says, "Here you go." And they're like, "What the fuck?" And he just, no explanation, doesn't say anything about it. Just like, here's something I think is dumb, so I'm going to smash it. And then there you go. Best way to reestablish the show and character.
Oh yeah, it's always gold.
I mean, that's basically a previously on every episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm is him doing that.
Right.
But yeah, I'm enjoying this season so far. Lots of staples of Curb Your Enthusiasm and Larry David's humor. A woman who is very visibly pregnant, running on the treadmill and drinking coffee, and he does not like it at all. And also they mention that Jeff kind of looks like Harvey Weinstein, which
yes,
he probably does get that a lot. I hadn't thought about that, but he probably does get that.
Probably.
He's sitting on the couch in Larry's office, and his secretary walks in, and she goes, "You're friends with this monster." Oh. But yeah, there's a lot of humor directed about, not necessarily at, but just about the Me Too stuff. And it's like I said, I'm only a couple episodes in so far. I've been watching Space Force, so I've kind of been going back and forth between the two. But but you know, it's typical hilarious Curb Your Enthusiasm stuff. So I'm definitely looking forward to finishing it. And to me, it's, you know, it alone is almost worth the price of HBO Max.
The back episodes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I love it.
HBO has so many good things. It's got The Sopranos. It's got The Wire.
Mhm.
It's got Deadwood, which I hear is good. I didn't get into it that much. I'll try it again at some point because Justified is actually
Right. Yeah, I'm actually going to watch The Wire now because I have HBO Max. I'm going to go back and watch The Wire.
Justified is in the next season of Fargo, I think.
Oh, is he? He's also in the next next season of The Mandalorian.
Remember you were telling me that. I'm still not going to watch. See, I'm really conflicted because I hate Star Wars so much. I mean, it sounds kind of interesting to hear it's more like a Western.
It is. It is more like it's a Western with Star Wars paint over the top of it. That's basically what it is. The storylines and the plots and the characters are basically all Western motif stuff, and it's just got Star Wars paint around it. Because there's no big destiny or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll probably not watch it.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't. But I mean, there's some Baby Yoda in it too. So.
Oh, is there? I hadn't heard.
I assume that
make a meme out of it.
I assume that stuff is the stuff you would really hate, and it's not like it's a small aspect of the show. It's pretty much in there.
Awesome.
Baby Yoda. Yeah, everyone thinks it's the cutest thing in the world. I mean, it's just like it's like the
Gremlin.
Yeah, it's like the Gremlin thing, the Mogwai. They made something.
Exactly.
They made something with big eyes, you know, and those like triangle type, like almost like rabbit ears, right? And if you make anything that with the big eyes like that, it automatically looks cute. I don't know what it is about the way humans look at things, but that looks cute to humans.
Babies look like that.
Yeah, I guess. Big-eyed babies.
Yeah.
Well. Anyway, that's pretty much all I got. So that is our show for the week. Mike, you got anything else you want to tell the people before we go?
Yeah, if you haven't seen the SpaceX launch or the booster landing, look that up. It's very awesome.
Yep. I have the video saved on my computer.
Oh, I assume you don't want to talk about the protest going on right now?
We can talk about it if you want. We got political earlier, and half of our audience turned off, but I don't give a fuck.
I mean, just to reiterate, I mean, again, the confusion, like where people, I hate seeing people put all lives matter because it's just not what is being tried to be said at all. It's just dumb.
Right. Yeah, unfortunately, when people say Black Lives Matter, for some reason, people they put the word only in front of that. I don't know why, but in their minds they put in there only Black Lives Matter when that's not the sentiment. The sentiment is Black Lives Matter too.
Yeah, I think if it was named differently, maybe people would get it, but I doubt that still because there's just a lot of dumb people out there.
Yeah, oh, for sure. But yeah, lots of unfortunate. I tell you what though, my wife showed me one very nice story, and I don't want to speak out of school here, but as far as I know, because I watched a documentary a while ago about Flint and Flint's the status of their police department and all this stuff. It was like a big behind the scenes for a few years about Flint. I can't remember what it was called off the top of my head, but I think it's on Hulu.
Is it Flint City, Michigan?
I think that's what it's called, yeah. And it was very illuminating. And from what I've seen in there and what I've read, and like I said, I don't know if, if you've got a news story that contradicts me or whatever, I guess fine, go ahead and post it for us. But from what I know, Flint does a really good job with policing. They do a lot of community policing. The police know a lot of the people in the neighborhood, even though they have, a decent amount of crime, even though it's a racially divided city. There doesn't seem to be a lot of this strife.
Michael Moore was born there and lived there his whole life.
Yeah. But there doesn't seem to be a lot of this strife with the police in Flint because they do things the right way. They do community policing and stuff. So in the midst of all these violent protests going on, one thing that was kind of nice that I saw and that my wife showed me is people that made videos of the Flint police, and they came up, the protesters had gathered, the one of the chiefs or the sheriff or whatever came up with the other police and said, hey, we want to have a peaceful protest here. We want to turn this into a parade. I put my baton's gone, my weapon's gone, my helmet's gone. It's all over there. I'm not taking that with me. Let's march together, for justice and everything. And the police marched with the citizens through Flint, and it was completely peaceful. And there was no. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I saw that too. That was a really nice video. I think what's kind of interesting is both of them have like the same similar position. Like it's like, the Black Lives Matter people say like, oh, the police won't speak out about the bad ones, but then like every like racist person's like, oh, the bad black people won't speak out against the good ones. I mean, they have the same kind of insider us against them sort of mentality. I mean,
right.
Honestly, I think who can't get behind being against police? That's a very bad sentence. Who isn't against police brutality? I don't care, what race a person is, where they're from. I mean, the police are not meant to. This isn't a military organization. At least they shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they are to protect and to serve.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think everybody should be against police brutality. I think everybody should be against the killing of unarmed people. This guy, George Floyd, was detained because supposedly the $20 bill that he used in this store or whatever was counterfeit. So
right, and what was it? The guy in I forget his name, Eric in New York. Didn't the guy like supposedly was selling like loose cigarettes?
Yeah, Eric Garner. Yeah.
They choke men to death for like petty crimes. I mean, who cannot be against that? And if you don't think there's a disproportionate response, look at these, people who shoot up schools or nightclubs, and you see them being led away in handcuffs. They're not being choked to death on the ground for having a couple 20-cent cigarettes or stealing a cigarette or passing a bad bill.
Exactly. And yeah, I mean, I think Mike and I are on the same page of, as far as this goes. And I mean, I tweeted, a little while ago, I said, I think a couple days ago, I said, I'm not surprised at all about the Minneapolis riots. This was when it was, not confined, but this was when, Minneapolis basically started. I said, I'm not surprised about them because, only people that are dumb or arrogant or both would think that you could abuse, a certain race of people in this country over and over again, have nothing done about it basically, and expect anything else. This is a lot of frustration and a lot of anger coming to the surface because, Colin Kaepernick kneeled and they called him a son of a bitch and whatever, and said he was an asshole and stuff and said he was disrespecting the flag when that's not what his protest was about. So a lot of people have tried peaceful protests. A lot of people have tried, I can't remember who it was. I think it was David Frum. David Frum said, "Hey, don't commit violence against police or something like that. Vote the people out of office who put the corrupt police in place or whatever." And it's like, how about just change the system? Why not?
Hey, that's a problem. Is a system there? I mean, there is. I don't think a lot of people understand. There's systematic racism built into our country.
Right. Yeah. Yep. And that's the stuff that needs to change.
The most fortunate, well-off, black person still doesn't have the same, expectations that your poorest, rural-born white person has. I mean, it's not the same expectations. You don't live in the same society.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll say this. So, I guess what we're talking about kind of is white privilege. And I know that word or that phrase makes a lot of people angry. So let me try to explain to everybody. White privilege doesn't mean your life's great. You can be white and still have shitty luck, be born poor, be born in a bad neighborhood, go to a bad school, and not have advantages. What white privilege means is this. all this stuff going on. I have a friend named Hussein, who happens to be black, and he posted on Facebook a conversation he had with his young son, Rocco, and it just says, Rocco, Dad, are you gonna get killed one day because you're by the police because you're brown like that man was? And he responds, no. And his son goes, how do you know? And he responds, I don't know. I don't have to have that conversation with my kids. That's white privilege. I'm privileged that I don't have to have that kind of conversation with my kids. He does. That's the difference. No matter how much each one of us makes, no matter how educated each one of us is, no matter where we live, I don't have to have that conversation, and he does. And it's psychologically traumatizing for, black children everywhere, who I'm sure, are afraid for their own lives, for their parents' lives. That's what white privilege is. It just means that we don't have to. There's a hurdle there that we don't have to jump over. There's lots of hurdles, everyone does have to jump over. Doesn't mean that we've got smooth sailing. It just means there's an extra hurdle we don't have to jump over that black people in general do. So, I mean, that's,
words are very. I'm a big fan of language and the way like George Carlin style comedy is one of my favorite things. I think these are bad words. White privilege is a bad phrase because it does have an inherent bias. And I don't like the word. It does sound like it does sound like you're saying that it's easy being white, which again isn't necessarily the case. But is it easier? Yeah, for sure. I mean, anybody who says different is 100% wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. And I agree with you. I don't think white privilege is the way. I don't think banding about that phrase is the way forward to a lot of equality.
Yeah, I mean, I understand people want something to rally behind. In the Norm Macdonald live podcast, he mentions the word cisgender, which is a word used by transgendered people or the transgender community to identify basically a person who's born a male and identifies as a male, which is 99.9% of the population.
Yep. And it's funny. I don't agree with Norm on all his political, stuff. I don't care because he's still my favorite comedian, and what his political beliefs are doesn't really change how I feel about his comedy. But I'm 100% on board with him with what he said there, because he said it was the Stephen Merchant one, and Stephen Merchant goes, cisgender, what's that? I don't know what that is. And he goes, it's a term that people use to what's he say, to try to marginalize normal people.
See, I disagree. I don't think it's intended to marginalize people. I just think it's a way to try and treat yourself as something uniquely different and distinctly different at the same time. Because I imagine, I'm just guessing, I don't know much about transgender issues, that sort of thing. But, I mean, for the longest times, another greatly marginalized community of people. I mean, you want something to, it's not quite black pride or that sort of thing, but in a way it sort of is, being proud of who you are and saying, hey, I'm different. They're trying to make other people kind of also feel different, I suppose. So maybe that is in a sense trying to marginalize it, but I doubt that's the actual intent, because I think Norm is definitely old fashioned and
right,
conservative in a lot of ways, and I think he's one of those people who's an older relative, when you see a gay person, they'll roll their eyes, that sort of thing,
Yeah, and I'm going to say something controversial, I'm sure, although it shouldn't be controversial, but it is. So when it comes to black and white, it's different a little bit, in at least as far as the use of language goes, in this way. Being transgendered or being gay is not normal. And I don't mean that. See, here's where it becomes controversial. People have this idea that normal equals good and abnormal equals bad. That's not the case. What I'm talking about is the majority of people born, in the world are either male or female, and they identify as whatever sex they were born as, and they're attracted to the opposite sex. That's the norm. people who are homosexual or people who suffer from body dysmorphia or some kind of like transgendered thing are abnormal. They're not part of the what normally happens biologically.
Yeah,
That
by
doesn't.
definition, abnormal is just not normal.
Yeah.
It's like when you say someone's ignorant, that doesn't mean they're stupid. It just means they don't know what they're talking about.
Correct. I'm a big advocate of transgendered rights and gay rights, and I don't think that's bad that they're abnormal, but it is. There's something in their biology that's not the normal course of things. So I think it's okay to label those things, and not in a mean way, but just to say, here's the identification. This person is homosexual. They are sexually attracted to the same sex. That's what happened. Biologically, can we say exactly why that happened? They're getting closer and closer and closer all the time. What genetic, abnormality, produces a homosexual person. Whether it's, like I said, it's a biochemical thing, right? I think the same thing. We're not nearly as close with transgenderism, but I think the same thing is the case with people that actually are transgendered, that feel like body chemistry wise in their brain, they're the opposite sex of the sex that they were that they were biologically born as. And I think there's a biological reason for that. And because of that, they
took prayer out of schools.
Right, exactly. But yeah, that's the thing is, like, because of that, I don't think it's a mental disorder or anything like that, like homosexual used to be categorized as. I think it's just a biological thing. It's just like somebody who's born a hermaphrodite. That happens. And that's
See, in my opinion, even if it isn't a biological or psychological thing, even if somebody just wants to change their gender, I do not care. It doesn't affect me in the slightest.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Yeah,
like people always say, like, "Oh, being gay is a choice." Well, first of all, I don't think you'd make that choice. But even if it were a choice, who cares? It's your choice. It doesn't affect me. I mean, a lot of people, like, the amount of consideration people give to sexual issues is ridiculous. I mean, you talk about sex maybe 1% of the time, even with your partner, and you're gonna just obsess over it. What the fuck is your problem?
Right, exactly. No, I totally agree with that as well. But yeah, I think when it goes the other way, when it's like, well, you're cisgendered, then it's like, I mean, if you want to say that, I guess, whatever, but I don't necessarily love that term. We need a term for you, not in a mean way, not like as a, everyone needs a label kind of thing, but like we need a term for you because, you're either your sexual orientation or, what you think about, you want to change your sex and everything goes against the norm. But you don't need a term for the majority. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need a term for, so that's where I agree with Norm when it comes to the cisgendered stuff. It seems like, well, that term doesn't need, first of all, that term is a bit of a misunderstanding of Latin. And second, it doesn't really need to exist.
No.
But yeah, that's Mike and Mark get political for the end of the show.
Well, we'll see half of you next week.
Right. If you didn't want to listen to that, I guess you could have just stopped, whenever we started talking about that. I don't mind talking.
Oh, sorry. I don't want to talk about it now, but the Michael Moore thing, are you familiar with what's going on with that?
No, what's going on with him now?
Apparently, people are very angry about this new documentary he released, which is saying that I think what it says is a lot of a lot of these electricity, efficiency type things are actually bad for the environment.
Okay, interesting.
I think it's interesting because I always wonder that, an electric car, is it actually carbon, positive? I'm sure it's no much. I mean, batteries are not, easy on the environment.
Yeah, and they've got I would assume most electric power plants, I believe, are run by coal power. So
I'm not even saying these, electric cars and stuff. I think is what he's mostly taking, swings at. So I don't know. I don't
yeah, but you gotta power it somehow. So like if you have an electric car, you come in at night and you plug it into your wall while your house is getting power from a coal plant. So it's not like it's not like
Yeah, exactly.
it's not like it's getting it's not like it's just solar powered or something like that. It's electricity is coming from somewhere. Yeah,
like the manufacturing process is not good.
I believe in global warming. I think that we desperately need to do something about it. But I will say the unfortunate thing is that fossil fuel is so fucking fuel efficient. Unfortunately, it's the most fuel efficient thing that we've ever discovered. And that's a big part of the problem. It's hard to have wind or solar or hydroelectric power that's as fuel efficient. I think maybe the closest any country's got is Iceland with their geothermal power, because they happen to be under a ton of geysers and shit, and they've got a lot of geothermal power and a population that's not very big.
There's
so
40 people there too.
Right? Yeah.
York.
So yeah, it's unfortunately, I do want to move to better sources of energy, absolutely, and I think that that's the way we should be moving. But I mean, to be fair, I guess it can be difficult sometimes because fossil fuels are so incredibly fuel efficient.
Right.
But that is our show for the week. We will see you next time. Bye.
See you next time.